Hey everybody in the Pagan umbrella. This is another crystal video that I'm gonna do, but I just want to make one quick announcement. I'm really sorry if my voice is a bit gruff because I was out last night, on the tear. No, and there was just really loud music, so the only way to communicate while in the pub was to scream at each other. So I woke up this morning kind of like, where is my voice gone? My voice has only just come back and I still sound very weird. But this video is going to be about cleansing crystals. And um, cleansing is more about intention than it is about the method. There are lots of ways to perform cleansing, but they all require focused intent behind the cleansing. Because if you don't have the focused intent of what you want to do, then it's just, it's like saying a prayer without not even, you know, kind of reciting a mantra without even thinking, what's the intent behind this, kind of. I just thought I would give that kind of brief description. I'm just going to tell you a few ways that you can cleanse crystals. There are a million billion ways to do it. There's so many different ways. But I'm just going to come up with very common ones that a lot of people would know. And then if you have one that maybe nobody's heard of or you think is very unique and you'd like to share it, post it in the thread, because that's what this is here for. It's for all the members to learn from, and that way we can all learn from each other and we can all have a discussion about it. So the first thing you need to think about is the crystal that you're going to cleanse and what kind of crystal it is and the method you're going to use. I know I said it's more about the intent behind it than the actual method, but the method does play a part as well, because you do not want to be damaging the crystals. There is a thing called the Mohs scale, MOHS. The Mohs scale of mineral hardness characterizes the scratch resistance of various minerals to the ability of a harder material to scratch a softer material, and it was created in 1812 by a German geologist and mineralogist, sorry, Friedrich Mohs, and is one of the several definitions of hardness in materials science. And this is a scale that's used to define a crystal's softness and hardness. So for example, I'm just going to use this as an example. I have a piece of selenite here, and say you're new to using crystals, okay, and you don't know much about them, and you go, how am I going to cleanse this piece of selenite? Really needs a good cleansing. I think I'll go and run it in the local stream. You do not want to be doing that. Selenite is water soluble. If it is submerged or immersed in water for a long period of time, it will start to deteriorate, which is, you don't want to be using that method. So you've got to also, as well as the intent, you do have to think about the method as well. So there are lots. The most common one is sunlight and moonlight. So using sunlight is a form of using the element of fire, and using sunlight to cleanse your crystals. I use a mixture of sunlight and moonlight. I leave them my crystals up. Now, when people do this, sometimes they leave them outside. I don't like to, because I would be absolutely heartbroken and mortified if I went outside and found my crystals broken or damaged in some way, because the Irish weather changes so much. I would just, oh, I don't know how I'd react. I'd be, oh my god. I would just be like, oh, it would be horrible. Not even thinking about it is just making me go, oh. um, but I like to leave them on the windowsills in my house, any crystals that need cleansing, so they can get sunlight and moonlight. You can't go anywhere in this house, seriously, well, except for the bathrooms. That'd be really weird. Without their crystals being, there being crystals everywhere, so being cleansed, like that's my short kind of, it's like my quickie cleansing. I have my hardcore cleansing method as well. Which is something that I came up with myself. I sat down and I was like, okay, I want my own method of cleansing my crystals, and I came up with it myself. So it's not in any book, it's not on any website, it's something I came up with myself, and it works for me, so that's great. By the way, if you hear any popping noises or crackling noises, there's a fire lit in the background, so that's what the noises are. So that's one of the most common ways to cleanse crystals, and some people leave them up for a full lunar cycle. Some just leave them up for a little while. It's kind of like how I like to describe it as crystal baking. You kind of go over just to check, just to see if it's done yet, you know. That's how I describe it. It's kind of like, no, it's not quite done yet, so I'm going to leave it for another, day or two. It's kind of like, oh, it's not done yet, I'm going to leave it for another couple of minutes. It's just on a longer scale. But that's one of the most common ones. Another one is burying the crystal in the ground. But also, you've got to be careful with this method as well. Softer crystals, more pores, and moisture gets in and can crack the crystal. You don't want to be doing it with things like selenite or hematite either. Hematite doesn't react well with water either. It's iron, it's not going to react well to it. So make sure you research your crystals very thoroughly before you cleanse them. Visualization is always a good one as well. Just visualizing the energy that needs to be removed from the crystal, how it needs to be cleansed, whatever method, however you would do that visualization, that's for you. I've never done it that way, so I can't say. But and the next one is one I have never done because I've never done it because I just really don't. I will explain why. Is getting a big bowl and filling it with salt. And people usually use rock salt, and you bury your crystals in it to cleanse them. Now, the problem with this is that salt itself is a crystal and can scratch your crystals, leaving pores, and the salt gets into the crystals and can make the surface of your crystals really cloudy looking over time. Obviously not like, the first time you do it you're going to pull out your crystal and it's going to look like a big cloudy mess, and but so that's why I don't use that method. And plus it's associated with the element of earth, and I associate with the element of air and fire more, so I don't tend to use those methods. So like burying crystals in the back garden, it's not one for me, and using salt, that's not one for me either. Using a stream is another one. I've known people to leave their crystals like wedged between rocks and stuff. They're the brave ones. I would not leave my crystals like overnight or something wedged between rocks. I'd be terrified of like me coming back and there being no crystal there, and I'd be like, oh my god, it's been washed downstream. But they wedged them between the rocks, and they just leave them there to be cleansed, and the rushing water cleanses the energy out, the energy that needs to be cleansed out of the crystal. And if you're not able to do that, if you don't have those resources available to you, I have heard people doing like blessing the water and salt on your altar, making a little mixture of the two, excuse me, and filling a bath full of cold water, not like right up to the top, like, but and pouring that mixture in to purify the water, and dunking the crystal in that. But again, you've got to think about, I know it's only a small amount of salt and water, but you've got to think about crystals that wouldn't react very well to salt or water. So you've always got to think about those kind of things. So that's another way of doing it with water if you don't have those resources available to you. Like a stream nearby, or a spring, a natural spring, or a holy well, or something like that. We do have a holy well near us, but unfortunately it's a very popular tourist attraction, and I don't think they would really appreciate me cleansing my crystals there. So I out of respect for them, I don't. But yeah, I couldn't really do that there. Another way is fire oil. Now, when I say fire oil, it's not like an actual oil, it's alcohol. And so all you miners, don't get any ideas about this now. It's an alcohol that has a mixture of like herbs and flowers and stuff to have a cleansing effect on the crystals. And you would need a baking tray, and make sure you have the right kind of crystal for this. You don't want to be throwing in a crystal that is not heat resistant. Like snowflake obsidian would be a good one for this. And you literally only need an amount of oil that would burn for around about 5 seconds, and light it, and it'll cleanse the crystal. And because you don't want carbon marks on the crystal, so you know, that's really important. But I am only listing that as one of the methods because this is what this video is about. I am not telling any of the younger crowd here on this group to go out and find some alcohol and try and make your own fire oil and light your crystals on fire, okay? Because you have to be very careful with it. You know, you could potentially hurt yourself. So to all the younger members out there, don't do this, okay? Just don't cleanse. If you want to cleanse with fire, you can pass the crystals through a flame very quickly, but do not mess with fire oil unless you know what you're doing. So that's just my warning there. I've also heard, I can't remember where I heard this information, but honestly can't remember because it was years ago. I heard that mugwort is very good for cleansing your crystals, rubbing your crystals in mugwort. I've never used it. I've never used it in that manner. I might try using it in an incense fashion, but you know, I've never tried or tested it, so that might be something I may have to report back to you. I think that's pretty much it really for now. They're the basics that I can think of right now, because I'm absolutely brain dead right now. But excuse me. If you have any to add, or if I've missed any out, like, I mean the basic ones that I could have possibly missed out, then do add them in the thread, you know. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm sorry it went on as long as it did, but I hope the younger members listened to my warnings about the fire oil, because if you didn't, then you're just bringing a whole load of mess onto yourself. So listen. Okay, blessed be. Bye.